Hey everybody, it's Tyler with Tyler Talks Travel Trailers, and we are back with something a little different. Uh, the weather is terrible outside right now, and I learned what a kaboob is. Does that sound right? It's like a sandstorm that's super crazy. It has crazy winds, and it literally blew a pop-up into the ditch right there, and I'm just super happy I wasn't behind it doing a tour because that could have been bad. So I'm staying out of the wind, out of the cold, and I thought it would be an amazing opportunity to discuss what we're going to talk about. RVs could be the best investment ever in your happiness, hanging out with your family, creating memories.
Man, RVs are amazing!
But let's face it, RVs is probably not the smartest investment, and they are depreciating assets. If you ever get a sales guy that says it's a good investment, you need to run. So that brings me to what we're going to talk about. It's the Great Divide, the crossroads, something you need to decide if you want to do it or not. And that is, do you want to buy used or do you want to buy new? And what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you 5 things that I think you should consider or think about when buying used, and things that you might not know about, like even on the finance side and stuff like that, because there is a lot of differences from buying new and used. At the end of that, I'll give you 6 pros and cons to buying used. And maybe this will help you get a little more information and you can decide what's good for you. Let's get into it. Starting with number 1. This is something that a lot of people don't know, because you buy vehicles, trucks and cars and stuff like that used all the time. The one thing that is different is when you buy an RV, you do not get a warranty. So manufacturer warranties are not transferable, like a car or a vehicle that you would normally buy used at a dealership. So it's a little different. Obviously there's a con to that. If you don't know what's wrong with it, you don't know if the fridge works, you don't know if it's going bad on you. Maybe it hasn't started, it has a little issue and eventually it's gonna break next week. So not having a manufacturer warranty that that would normally cover things like your AC, fridge, and stuff like that is not transferable. With that being said, however, if you do buy a fairly new travel trailer or fifth wheel, you can buy an extended service contract, which is like basically a warranty, and it'll extend for, I think, like 5 years, and it will cover everything. So if that is a big concern to you, there still is ways for you to cover the trailer with an extended service contract. It's just something that you would have to buy. It's not like one you just get from the factory and it's covered for a year. And a lot of these manufacturer warranties cover a lot of different things, and it varies. So on some trailers, it's like the roof is 10 years, the axles are 7 years, the appliances can vary 1 to 2 years depending on what it is. So it is a pretty extensive warranty from the factory that you will not be getting. So that is a huge factor when buying used that some people tend to not know. All right, number 2. You'll see a lot of other YouTubers out there kind of saying the opposite of this. I don't know if they had like a bad experience or maybe they worked at one and the dealership didn't follow through with what they said they would do. But I think personally, if I was buying a used RV, travel trailer, fifth wheel, I would be buying from a dealership. There is a lot of pros to buying from a dealership. For one, you're kind of building a relationship with the dealership. You know we're always going to have your back. I have people that have bought from me like a year ago and they've still called me, and asked me questions. Maybe they couldn't get in touch with service, who they have their number, they have his number as well, but they're always going to have a good point of contact when they buy from a dealership. I also feel like we have an obligation, almost like a liability to make sure that certain things are done correctly versus a private seller who could potentially not disclose certain things to you and just, try to unload it and, their hands are clean. We have a name behind us, Albuquerque RV. We want to keep our reputation up. We want to have our good reviews that we have. And we want you to come back for more things. Even if it's not another trailer in the future, you're going to need parts, service, maybe you need our help in the future. It does us no good to, doing bad business. So me personally, when I sell a used one, I will go through it with them and show them what I notice, or maybe even when we do take a trade-in, we do a trade check-in sheet and we go through everything. We ask the customer that's trading it in, is the awning fabric good? Does the AC work? Does the heater work? Is there any leaks? Has it been smoked in? Has there been cats or dogs? And all of this stuff we put on to a check sheet. And then also when it comes in, we also do our techs will also go through it again. So they're going to check certain things and make sure that what they were telling us is the truth. Whereas if you buy it from a private person, a lot of times, you don't know if they're just trying to offload, the issues that they're probably dealing with onto you, and they just want to get it done and gone and not think about it. So I personally think number 2 is huge. You should try to buy from a dealership. Look at their reviews. That is a really good way to see how people do business, how these companies are running, how these people are treating customers. But most of the time, I don't see a reason why these dealerships wouldn't disclose certain things to you, why they wouldn't try to put their best foot forward in order to continue to get their business. And not only that, but there's, we have a liability to make sure, the gas lines aren't leaking or the tire pressure is good before you drive off the lot. All of these things that a private seller, they can skip those things, and just sell it to you and you're done. So number 2, if you're buying used, it might be smarter to go through a dealership to know that you're getting for sure taken care of. Moving on to number 3. This is a big one, and I think it's very important. Have the trailer inspected. There's a lot of ways you can do this. If you do end up buying privately, hire a third-party inspector to go in and look through everything. I'm saying this is really important because a lot of these trailers, they have some expensive appliances, components. It's not like a house. You don't just like glance over and say, yep, that looks like it works. You got to pressure test the lines, make sure there's no leaks in the tanks, things like that. A lot of things that you can't see that could be wrong. Not to mention, these fridges in these trailers, like, I don't know if you could see the one behind me. These things are not cheap. They're expensive, but they're getting bigger. And the thing about that is sometimes they don't fit through the door. A lot of people don't think about that. So sometimes, you need to literally remove a window off of the slide in order to get that fridge taken out. So imagine how much that would cost if you didn't catch that before even buying it. If you take it to a dealership service, it can get pretty pricey. The labor per hour is not cheap. You have certified techs who have a lot of experience and they've worked hard, and that's why they get paid good. And they have labor rates and stuff like this. So you got to imagine, if you need to replace the fridge, how much is the fridge going to cost? Then what if you need to take the window out? How many hours of labor is that going to be? So I think no matter what, get it inspected, which brings me to a dealership doing the inspection. I think you should trust the dealership. As you can see, I told you you're trying to build not trying, but you are building a relationship with the dealership. And our goal should be to put our best foot forward. So let us do the dealership. Obviously, you have to pay for the inspection, but it is super extensive. I actually got the printout right here for you guys because I wanted to know what we do. And it's pretty crazy. It is front and back. Every single appliance is touched and looked at. Even if it's like a motorhome, it looks like we do a road test. So we drive it down the road, check the foot brake, the parking brake, cruise control, dash components, everything. And then we even do an after road test, make sure levels of antifreeze are good, all of that stuff, tire pressure. And we'll check the batteries. And with these inspections, as you can see, we go through the furnace, the chassis, the roof. The other day I had a customer that bought a trailer from me, and the person who owned it last had put like tape over an area that the last thing you want to do is have water go in. We saw the tape. We took the tape off and resealed that area. So we're going to go above and beyond. If we see something that could hinder or ruin the trailer by maybe water getting in through the walls because maybe the caulking is cracked or something like that, a lot of times we will go that extra mile to make sure it's fixed and get it done. If it's something super crazy and expensive and stuff, we would obviously call you and say, hey, we found this is not working, and we can move forward from there and figure out a way to get that resolved. So huge thing. Number 3, get an inspection either from the dealer, which I think is a super great option, which also falls into my second thing again. You should buy used from a dealership because we have certified techs who can inspect it for you. Or if you buy privately, hire a third-party inspector to make sure everything is top-notch and good to go. That way you're not buying a lemon. So I do get customers that are super handy. They know what they're doing. They can inspect it. I do get that occasionally where they feel confident enough to go through it and make sure everything works. So there is that time, and then you can just not get the inspection, which will save you a lot of money. But this also ties into buying from a dealership. Regardless of if you get the inspection or you don't, we will do a safety check on it no matter what, at no charge. Like I told you, it's a liability issue, and we also want to make sure that it's safe and you're happy with it. And this safety check, I didn't know it was this extensive until the owner printed this out for me. But we do this whole check sheet, and it looks like we check the LP detector, the carbon monoxide detector, functioning batteries, fire extinguisher charge, water system working, stove and oven ignites, fridge working on gas, fridge working on electric, water heater working, furnace fires up and runs, AC turns on and working, electrical plugs functioning, tire pressure within standards, and check lug nuts. So you're still getting this from a dealership. I mean, if dealership isn't doing a safety check, that's kind of sketchy, and I think it should be done no matter what. So if you do not get the inspection from us at this dealership, we will still do this extensive safety check. We will not fix it though. With the safety check, we will not fix anything, but we will call you and let you know, if we find some sort of issue, and we can go from there. So huge thing. I think that would put me at peace of mind. That would make me want to just go with the dealership regardless, just because I know that they're going to at least do the safety check for us. So number 3, get it inspected. All right, number 4, this is a good one. So interest rates and down payments will always be more on used units. A lot of people don't really know how the financing side of used units work. So if you don't want to hear this, skip forward. This is for people that could potentially be financing a unit. So interest rates could be 1/4 to 1/2 point higher on used units because of it being a little older. Also, when it's new, a lot of times banks like to see 10% down. If it's used, the banks will require 20% down. So as it gets older, the banks could require more down, and also your interest rate will be higher when it's used. When you buy new, it's a lot easier to buy a new one versus a used one. And even if you have perfect credit, the rate is still going to be higher. I actually wrote an example down. So like a lot of times banks aren't going to finance anything that's 10 years or older. There is some exceptions, if there's like a 20-year-old motorhome, let's say you have perfect credit, then potentially the banks will finance it. I'm talking like 800 credit score. Even with an 800 score on a 20-year-old motorhome, you're looking at like a 17% interest rate. So the older it gets, your rate is definitely going to go up. Also, like I'm younger and I tried to buy one like 4 or 5 years ago, but I don't have a lot of depth to my credit. Like all I had was my car, and that was it. So obviously I didn't get approved on that. My credit was still good, like a 740, but because I didn't have something that I borrowed, like comparable credit, I didn't borrow anything of the same value of the trailer that I was trying to get. So that is another factor. as well as debt to income. A lot of things play into buying an RV because it is considered a luxury item. So we get a lot of people that have bought in cars or trucks and things, and they come in, they're like, I want zero down, and it's a lot harder. I'm not saying we won't try, we'll always work for you, but what we usually see is banks requiring 10% down on new and 20% on used, unless your credit's perfect, then there's ways around that. It is a luxury item. Like when you think about a car, it's a necessity, you need it, and the banks will do zero down because they know you're going to pay your car. That's how you get to work every day. So a car is something you need, and a luxury item, if the economy takes a dump and you can't afford certain things like the normal life you had, the first thing you're going to not pay is your travel trailer or your fifth wheel. So just know that luxury items are always going to require down payment most of the time. And when you buy a trailer, you got to put 20% down when it's used so basically you just put more down. You have to put more down when it's a used unit versus a new. And your interest rate is also going to be higher when it's a used unit. Just something to think about. Sometimes you can get a better payment on a new one because the rate is lower. So a lot of people didn't know that. If you're paying cash, that's obviously a whole different story. Number 5. Ooh, it's getting cold in here, dang. Number 5. This is probably the most important one. I really, really want to emphasize on this one because if you decide to buy a used travel trailer or fifth wheel, have the expectation of buying a used fifth wheel or travel trailer. I'll show customers new stuff, and then we'll maybe go look at used stuff, and maybe they land on one and they end up going used. And maybe I don't explain it good enough to them, but we will not make the travel trailer or fifth wheel like new. Just like a private seller won't do that. They are not going to fix the fading stickers, or sometimes the awning will be a little faded where it rolls in, or there could be a chip in the cabinetry or something like that. We are not going to make the trailer like new, where pretty much no dealership is going to do that. I mean, if you get the inspection, we're not going to just leave a piece of trim hanging off the wall. We're still going to fix things, but just have the expectation that you are buying a used coach, and you're inheriting the smell, you're inheriting the couches. If sometimes they get a little faded on certain areas and stuff. All of these things, price reflects all faults, at least on our dealership. The reason why you're probably getting a good deal is maybe because it's missing a cabinet door. I don't know, but just understand that if you buy a used trailer and that's the route you're going to go, you're going to get a used trailer. It's going to have some wear to it. It's going to have a little bit of maybe fading on the outside and stuff like that. So that's probably my most important thing that I think people should consider if they do decide to go the used route. And if you buy the inspection, just know that the inspection does not mean that you are going to have a brand new coach when you come pick up your used coach. Really important. If you want a new one, you just have to get the new one, All right, let's get into 6 pros and 6 cons to buying a used travel trailer or fifth wheel. Ooh, got a little cold, so I had to put my jacket on. So, starting with number 1, the easiest pro is the cost. So obviously, it's going to cost a lot less to buy a used trailer. And this is kind of going into one of my second pro or third pro to buying used is it already took the hit of like a depreciation hit. So the first owner already took some of that depreciation. Not only is it going to cost less, but the great thing about it is a lot of times, like for instance, right now I have a 2021 Flagstaff ePro 19FD on the lot. And I have a new one on the lot. And the new one, you're going to pay anywhere from like $29,000 to $32,000, I think. And the used one I have, you're going to pay $20,000. And Flagstaff is the best brand, or maybe you don't know, but in my opinion, it is one of the best brands. It has all the bells and whistles, all the features, solar, tank heaters and stuff like that, At least the used one I have has those options. So that used one is $20K. The new one is $32K. There is some new stuff that you're getting, but for the most part, you're getting a lot of the great core features that Flagstaff gets you, including the construction. So, and then if you went to a new trailer for 20 grand, it's going to be more of like our entry-level trailer. So if you buy used, you can get more features, more options for less, like for a lower price. So sometimes used does mean more features and options, and it costs less. Going into my number one con. Number one is bathroom and tanks, black tanks. Ugh. Turn it off! I don't know, man. I have like OCD, like I'm very meticulous about things, and not everyone is like that, you know? I bought my car brand new 2019 and it still has the sticker over the radio. Like I'm like that. So, you know, black tanks, it can get gross, you know, and you'll know if they weren't clean because when you walk through the door, it'll hit you like a wall. So remember that when you're buying used, the people used it. So they used the toilets most likely and the black tanks, and if they didn't sanitize them correctly, they didn't put chemicals, or they didn't flush it right away. Sometimes, you know, you'll have people that will go on a camping trip and not drain it right away. I think that is just crazy. So that is probably one of the biggest cons to me, is knowing that the toilet and the black tanks have already had some doo-doo in it. It grosses me out. But you know, if you do find a used one and they did take care of it, they sanitized it and did everything correctly, you walk into it, it should not smell funky and stuff like that. So just something to consider when you're buying used. Number 2 pro is basically what I told you on the last pro. The last customer took the hit, or the first customer took the hit, the depreciation hit. So now it kind of eases it up for you a little bit. Number 2 con, unforeseen things could be wrong. You can't see and you don't know how well it was taken care of. This is a huge thing. And I'm going to tell you what my 6th con is while I'm explaining this, but there is no Carfax for RVs. You know, it may not travel trailer or fifth wheel. You cannot just look up how it was taken care of, how far it's gone down the road, mileage, stuff like that. And there's a lot of things that are hidden in these trailers. You know, your tanks, you can't see if the underbelly is enclosed. You can't see the tanks. All it takes is a little bit of caulking, cracking on your joints and stuff like that, and water can get in. And that's when you start getting delamination issues. And you can't see it for a while. If you catch it quick, you're good. But if you don't catch it and that water continues to get in to those cracks, you start having delamination issues. And that's when you see the walls starting to bubble. That's because the walls are literally starting to separate. And you know, maybe the fridge is having an issue, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's like someone that tries to sell a car that has an AC out in the wintertime. It could be something you're just not noticing, and you don't notice until you're out using it. So that is a huge con. There is no Carfax. There's nothing you can really do, and we're all human. You could miss it, and there could be a reason why they're selling it. Number 3, pro. This is kind of a pro. This is something some people say. You know, a lot of times they'll say after 1 or 2 years, all the kinks and things that need to be fixed, all the small little details are adjusted. That first year with that manufacturer warranty, a lot of people use that and kind of get the bugs fixed and stuff, because it don't matter if you have a $200,000 fifth wheel or a $20,000 travel trailer. You're going to have some sort of thing that you need fixed. And that also goes back to why you need to have a dealership behind your back, because we're going to be here for you. And so no trailer is perfect. You know, they all have their issues. And so don't expect it to be a perfect trailer right off the lot. But if you buy a used one, a lot of times they say, you know, maybe those kinks and bugs were kind of worked out of it. So that could be a pro. Number 3, as I stated in my top 5, interest rates are higher on used, as well as more down payment is usually required. So you might get a used one with a higher monthly payment. That is a con to buying a used trailer. Number 4, Pro. This is a big one to me. I always discuss this with my customers if they're first-time buyers, because I want to set them up to have a good experience and hopefully buy another one in the future, or they're happy with the one they got. Regardless, they'll be able to have that decision in the future. If you buy used, you get to figure out what you like and you don't like without spending 40 grand on a trailer. You know, if you've never owned one, how do you know what you want or don't want? So why would you go out and buy the trailer with every single bell and whistle and all the features, you know, the outdoor kitchen and stuff? Sometimes it's a good idea, if you don't know if you're going to camp, you buy more of like an entry level trailer, or you buy a used trailer to see what you don't like and do like. That way, in the future, you're like, you know, I want an outdoor kitchen, or, you know, I have grandkids that come with us more than I thought. Maybe we need bunk beds. If you buy a used one, you're going to get out of it so much easier. If you want to come in and trade it in, you won't be upside down, stuck in the one you have. I mean, you could get out of your new one, but you're going to need a huge down payment if you still have a large loan balance on that new trailer. So going used is smart, because you get to kind of figure out if you like it or don't, and also figure out what features you like and don't like, and potentially you could trade it in the future a lot easier than if you just went out and bought a new one. And let's say it's too big and now you want to downsize, but you spend 80 grand on the fifth wheel and you're stuck in it for another 4 years. Just something to consider. Number 4, con. This one's kind of weird. When I first heard it, I was like, what the heck? That is so messed up. So if you buy too old of a unit, like sometimes it's 10 years or older, a lot of these RV parks will not allow you on the park. How messed up is that? So you got to be careful. If you end up buying too old of a travel trailer or RV, a lot of these parks are restricting a certain age limit on the units that can actually come into the park, which I think is totally dumb, because I've seen some van conversions or Class A remodels that, you know, they buy an older Class A and they just deck it out. It's got the African teak wood, you know, nice cabinetry, all that good stuff. But some of these parks, they're pretty firm on what you can bring in age-wise. Sometimes, you know, you'll get like a cool park where you can show them the inside, which I still think is weird. You know, you can still show them the trailer and then they can decide if you can bring it onto the park or not. But I wouldn't want to deal with that. So be careful if you buy used, make sure it's just not too old. Number 5, Pro. This is a touchy subject, so you're gonna pay for this no matter what, I promise you. So dealerships will add prep and freight to the price, whether it's after you see the price or you see the price, it's already in the price. So that's why you see a large fluctuation of pricing, and you're probably like, what the heck? Why is this one 6 grand less? Why is this one 6 grand more? It's because some dealerships add the prep and freight in already, and some will add it after the fact. You know, I personally would rather know how much I'm spending on the freight and prep, so sometimes it's good to have that itemized. But the pro to buying used is they do not add prep and freight to the price. So if they do that, run. That is a huge red flag. You should not be paying for freight if it's already on the lot. The prep is that inspection I told you about. So you have the option to decide if you want to add the prep to it and have it inspected. So that is one benefit of buying used, is you're not paying for any prep or freight, whether it's hidden in or added later. That's a huge plus. A lot of savings right there. Number 5, I already explained this con. There is no Carfax. There is no way for you to look up the trailer and see how many miles it's gone. With travel trailer and fifth wheel, with those two, you can't just get a Carfax and be like, well, I want to know where it's gone, how far it's gone, things like that, see how it's treated. So that is a con. When you buy used, there's really no way for you to know how it's been treated, like a car or a truck. Number 6, Pro. I think this is a good one. This is actually kind of smart. So when you go buy maybe a 1, 2, 3-year-old trailer, it's been out for 3 years, and we're in a day and age where we got the internet, and there's a lot of forums, there's a lot of blog posts. There's groups for individual brands. Like there's a Flagstaff group. What's nice about it is you know, if you do pick up one of these 3-year-old models, you can go on and see how it's held up. You can see what people don't like. You could see how the solar's doing. Maybe they've added some new features. All of these things you'll be able to see on blog forums and threads and stuff like that. So sometimes buying used, you know, you're not the guinea pig buying the first one, you know, a new floor plan, new tech, new options and features. You kind of can see what everyone else is saying about the used unit that you are potentially buying. Which brings me into my next con of buying, you know, used is you're gonna get older tech. You're gonna get older stuff. Maybe with how fast solar and batteries has improved in the last like 4 years, it's crazy. So there's a lot of improvements that come, you know, on the solar, the batteries, even the construction. There's a lot of these companies are doing double layered composite walls. So there's some things that you could miss out on that the newer stuff is coming out with. So not a big deal because there's not like a huge amount of change, but just know, you know, you're not getting the newest like voice command, put my slide in type stuff, which, you know, some people don't care about that much. So that was my 5 things that I think you should know or consider, little tips there if you're buying used or considering used, and my 6 pros and cons to buying used. A little bit of a different video, you know, it's kind of different being in front of the camera versus behind it. So I had a lot of fun. I like doing this. Maybe I'll do more of these. Tomorrow, I kind of want to show you what to look for when you're buying used, things you should check, things you should look out for, just so that way when you're buying, you don't end up with a lemon. I think it's super important. If you're new to the channel, I do a new video every single day. A lot of times it's a 30-minute tour on a new floor plan, or if I'm super busy, I'll do a 60-second short. But no matter what, I give you some fresh content every single day. So hit that subscribe button. It helps me a lot. And if you don't know where I'm located, I'm at Albuquerque RV in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Our phone number is down in the description below. So if you have any questions about anything, call in, ask for Tyler, and they will direct you to me because we're on a rotating list. If you don't ask for me, you could just end up with another sales guy, which is fine. We're all super passionate, happy, and ready to help you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this tour. It was a little different. Let me know if you got any value out of it. I love when I get feedback. And you guys have a good evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys.